For more than 150 years in Canada, Aboriginal children were taken from their homes and from their parents and brought to government-funded residential schools. It would only be decades later that we would learn that they were abused sexually, mentally, and physically. They're now sharing those stories.
I lived an isolated life in Toronto. Sometimes I wonder why our parents let us go.
To say it was emotional would be an understatement, as hundreds of Aboriginals joined for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission conference. During the gathering, natives recounted stories from their childhood and the many abuses that took place while at residential schools created by the Canadian government. At least 150,000 Aboriginals were displaced from their homes, taken to remote locations, and virtually stripped of their culture. To non-natives, the story of life there is widely unknown, but Aboriginals are now speaking out.
I witnessed all the emotional abuse, of course, and I also witnessed sexual abuse in our in our dormitory.
Discrimination, our traditional and spiritual way of life was pulled away from us, taken out of us, kicked out of us, punched out of us.
Aboriginal children were sent mainly by buses far away. The children were told they could not speak their native language. They had to deal with poor conditions such as unhealthy food and physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Many children died at the schools, and so many more are left with lasting emotional scars. They say telling the stories helps to heal.
This thing went on for years and years, and people knew about it, and nothing was done.
In 2008, Prime Minister Stephen Harper apologized to former Indian residential school students, admitting it was a policy intended to, quote, kill the Indian in the child. There were more than 130 residential schools across Canada. While in different places, the same stories of abuses were present. The first schools opened in the 1870s. The last one closed in 1996.
There's more to it than just to saying, I am sorry. There's more to it.
I think the system they established was to put us in schools where we can lose our culture, lose our language, that we're not allowed to talk. If we get caught with speaking the language, we would get strapped or punished. And that was the intent of them, to put us into another society and change our culture.
Many Aboriginals say while history cannot be changed, the government can still help those children who are now adults by providing counseling and other programs. They also want their stories on record and the truth to not only be heard but documented in Canadians' history. Ashante Hathaway, Press TV, Montreal.